usual with watching the breath mindfully for a few moments. Then we can try to cultivate good intentions. May us coming together here to listen, to engage in discussion, reflection, contemplations. May all this become cause and conditions to transform our mind, to actualize the spiritual experiences, realizations. Especially its highest level of true loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind and wisdom. And to be much help and benefit to not only oneself but all sentient beings. Directly, indirectly, through three doors of body, speech, and mind. And even when you are unable to be help and benefit to others, at least may we never hurt and harm others through body, speech, and mind. May it also become cause and condition to actualize our highest potential, the fully awakened state. So not only we can be help and benefit, but greatest help and benefit. And not only to few, but to each and every sentient beings. Okay.
We'll do our prayers before the teaching, beginning with the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, which we'll do 3 times in English. To the founder, the endowed, and the destroyer, the one above beyond,
The false destroyer,
the
completely perfect, fully obedient, the very knowledge, and conduct, so that I know to now the return, deserve God's independence, fully completely, fully obedient, the endowment and the destroyer. The Lord is conquered, the subdued from the shackle plane. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge.
to the founder, the
Endowed
endowed,
and the destroyer,
the
the
one
one beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully obedient being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, to guide and Lord the one, supreme guide of the universe, retain, teacher of the gods and human beings, to you the completed and fully awakened one, the endowed and the destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subdued from the shackle plane. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge.
to the founder, the
The
endowed,
darkness and the destroyer, the one beyond,
the
the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully obedient being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, to God and Lord of the world, supreme God of the human beings, retain, teacher of the gods and human beings, to you the completely, fully obedient one, the endowed, and the destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subdued from the shackle plane. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge.
and we'll do the short mandala offering once in English. This ground that you get your feet and straight with flowers, but the heart will not be through. For I
May all the beings enjoy his good.
And then we'll do refuge and bodhicitta, once in English, twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I am like to the Buddha of Dharma by the merit I create through listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha in order to benefit all the sentient beings.
이제 교전 이론에 나와도 배방되잖아요. 담배 신의 교전에 보담될 자사. So we have been discussing about mantra, especially some of the common mantra that we often use. How to use and what are the meaning of the mantras, different mantras. What are the benefit of chanting or reciting those mantras? How we use the mantras in one way, and what are the benefits of mantras, and how each of mantras have different benefit or same, so that is more or less. And so up to now, we kind of went through the first 7 mantras we already discussed. 8th one, is the Vajrasattva mantras. And it's, again, these mantras very often used in practitioners' everyday life. Is for the purifications. Whatever obstacles we encounter in our life, whatever problem, whatever conflict, whatever suffering that we encounter or we experience in our life, they are result of our own karma, negative karma. As long as there's those negative karma, we will continue to experience unpleasant experiences in the form of sometimes obstacles, in the form of conflict, in the form of different adversity situations, physical pain, sufferings, mental pain, suffering. So it could manifest in different. So as long as there's the karmic seed, as long as there's karmic seed or the karmic potential, when certain cause and condition come that activate that karmic seed, those negative karmic seed, as a result of that, then we experience those. So if we do not want, any of those unpleasant, unfortunate experience and situation, then, not only we need to try to keep distant from the condition that activate that karmic seed, but also to purify those negative karmic seed, and there are many different practices to purify all those negative karmic seed, but one very powerful practice that was given by the Buddha is the practice of Vajrasattva practice. Also, not only in that form, also one of the reasons we struggles in our Dharma studies. One of the reasons why we have difficulty of understanding the Dharma. Even when we understand it, still why we don't have the experience, spiritual experience or realizations. Why we are unable to have that is again due to that internal obstacles, the negative karma or inner obstacles, negative karma. Again, in order to have, in order to be able to make progress in our path, by cultivating those different levels of spiritual experience or realizations, then we need to purify and clear those obstacles, and again, purifications help to do that. Sometimes when you want to study, or sometimes when you want to practice, again, certain obstacles comes, something happens with your physical health, even you have the interest to do, or sometimes something come up and you are unable to go. You need to go be there. And so we struggle to find, even when you have interest, obstacles arises in that moment. And again, again to purify that, we have to purify those cause of those obstacles. That is in our own karma, negative karma, and therefore we need the purifications. And one of the most powerful purification practice is the practice of bodhisattva. So therefore, in every all the different lineage within the different Tibetan Buddhism, which is rooted in the Nalanda Mahayana traditions, in India, same, So then the practice of bodhisattva for purification is very much emphasized. Very much emphasized. In all the lineage, it's not just one, it's common to all the lineage. And in some of those Buddha's teachings, there is explanations, where it says, if you practice the bodhisattva, purifications properly, correctly, and if you are able to recite 100,000 bodhisattva mantras correctly, with all the practice correctly, unmistaken in the right way. He said there is no negative karma that cannot be purified. All negative karma can be completely purified. And then also in that it says, even you can't do that. Even we just recite, the long mantra 21 times, short one 28 times every day. Even we cannot purify completely all the negative karma, but at least it will make sure that our negative karma does not increase and multiply. Because whether it's positive karma or negative karma, it has this function of increasing and improving if there's no obstacle for it. It's just like a plant or seed, a very small seed. But is there no obstacles? And if it get the rain and then fertilizers, light, everything, and if there's no obstacle for it to grow, then that will become bigger and bigger. Week by week, month by month, year by year, it can grow from very small seed to a big trees, full of branches, full of lots of leaves, flowers and fruit, and then it drops again, new comes, and it continues. So unless there's some obstacle for it to grow, same way karma has that, whether it's positive, negative karma, if there's no obstacles for it to grow, it multiplies, it increases, become bigger and bigger. And so even if we create a small negative karma, if we don't purify, after a few years, few lifetimes, it can be a huge. And so therefore, by doing the purification, Vasudha purification, by reciting 21, the long one, 28, the short one, at least, minimum level, at least it will not allow the negative karma to expand, increase, multiply. It creates obstacles to that negative karma to expand and increase. And if practice is done more correctly, more properly with the right way, then not only it stops increasing, it can purify. Not only it can purify completely as well. So depending on how strong our practice is. Therefore the advice is try to do the Vasudha practice by reciting the mantra at least once a day, every day, every day. And when we have opportunity, to do, 100,000. Also for certain high practice, there's a requirement as a preliminary, certain higher practice or certain higher teachings, there's a requirement, what we call preliminary practices, and one of those is 100,000 Vatsala purifications. Traditionally, to get a teaching on Dzogchen, Mahamudra, or completion stage of clear light mind, to get those teachings, you need to have completed all those preliminary practices. Without those preliminary practices, they will not even give the teachings. And one of those is, one of those is 100,000 personal purifications. And of course, if you want to do those practice, then of course you need to do the preliminaries. Also, if you want to more higher practice, high yoga tantra, 3-year retreat, those are requirements, preliminary practices. So therefore, that is how much emphasized it is. So it becomes very important, very, very important. Lam Tsongkhapa himself also explained, when you try to listen to the teachings, you cannot understand it, you are unable to understand it. And sometimes you are able to understand the teachings, but when you try to reflect, contemplate on that, there's no kind of changes, transformations, And when you try to meditate, sometimes your mind becomes very unclear, dull. Sometimes your mind wanders off, running everywhere, and therefore not being able to have the spiritual realization that we wish to achieve. When such things happen, then he said, you have to rely on purification and accumulation of merit. Due to lack of that, that's why those things happen. Due to lack of purification, accumulation of merit, we are unable to understand the Dharma when we try to understand in teachings or studies. Sometimes even we are able to understand it, but when you try to reflect, contemplate, not being able to have the transformation and so forth, so therefore, so Vajrasattva is the, you can say the manifestations, all the Buddha's energy of to purify or to cleanse, to purify in the form of the root of all the Tantric teaching is the Vajradhara. And Vajrasattva and Vajradhara are inseparable. So in a sense, it is the very, from all others, Tantric teachings, all the Tantric practice, from all where the other Buddhas arise from. So it's very like the very root of all of that. So, okay, so that is a little bit on Vajrasattva. And here we have the Vajrasattva, just father. Sometimes there is for the highest yoga tantra, then there is father and mother for the consort. But normally this is just the father without consort, yeah. Thank you. So again is in terms of okay, maybe at the moment, maybe I will just in terms of the mantras, I don't know whether I should go maybe I will just read it in case maybe even you might not be able to hold now immediately, but maybe at least maybe if you wish, then at least you can listen or sometime, So Om, we already discussed the meaning of Om in all the mantras at the very beginning, So Vastra meaning, diamond, and diamond is a undistractive among all the strong. It is the most powerful. With the diamond, you cut everything, undistractable, so that is what Vastra meaning, So is that, enlightened Dharmakaya wisdom is the real Vastra. This is the undistractable. The Dharmakaya wisdom or enlightened wisdom is that Vastra, true Vastra, because it is that cuts all the delusions, all the obscurations. It's like the Vastra, more powerful. And Vasattva is the person or being, So here, the Vasattva is that Dharmakaya wisdom, manifesting that form, or in other words, the enlightened being that possess the Dharmakaya being the Vastra. So it means, courageous one or enlightened one with a transcendental non-dual wisdom, Vasattva. Samaya means, the pledges, sacred word of honor or pledges that cannot be transgressed, that we have taken certain pledges. Samaya. Manubala, lead me along the path you took to enlightenment. So it is making the request to the Guru Vasattva, to lead me along the path that you took to enlightenment. In other ways, show me the path. And Vasattva, Tenopatita, Tenopatita, please make me abide closer to the holy Vasa mind. And Chido, is firm and stable based on absolute true nature. And me means me, like me bawa, me bawa, me. Bawa is please grant me the ability to realize the nature of the phenomena, ultimate nature of phenomena. Grant me or help me the ability to realize that, Sudo me bawa. Mean please have the nature of being pleased with me. Subukaya me bawa. May I be in the nature of a highly developed great bliss. Anuratu me bawa. Please bless me in the nature of love that lead me to your state. of enlightened state. You know. Sawasiti Mepayasa, please grant me all the actual attainments. Sawakama Sutame, please grant me all the virtuous actions. Siddham Shiram Guru, please grant me all the glorious qualities of the Bodhisattva. Whom, the whom is syllable, the signify holy Vasa mind. Ha 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 ho, five. And that is the 5 transcendental of wisdom of the 5 Dhyana family Buddhas. Bhagwan, meaning the Buddha, conqueror, who has destroyed all the negativities and who have actualized all the positive realization. And someone who has passed beyond the sorrow. Savatadakata, all who have gone beyond into the reality of emptiness as it is. And Vajra, as I mentioned before, so meaning the both thunderbolt and diamond representing strength of inseparable wisdom. Mami Musa, do not abandon me. Vajra Bhava, and Mahasamaya Sattva, the great courage one holding the sacred word of honor, the holy mind. Whom pay as the 6th syllable for the holy speech, whom, transcendental wisdom of the great bliss, pay, clarifies our understanding of the transcendental wisdom of inseparable bliss and emptiness, and destroy the dualistic mind, which is the opposite of that wisdom. So that is kind of word by word. And then, maybe if you try to take the whole meaning, there's a whole, you see there's a Sattva purification, small practice there, booklet. So then you can see that it doesn't go by word, but then it's the general meaning, Here it says, you, Bodhisattva, have generated a holy mind according to your places. Your holy mind is enriched with the simultaneous holy action of releasing transmigratory being from samsara. Whatever happened in my life, happiness or suffering, good or bad, with a pleased holy mind, never give up. But please guide me. Please stabilize all happiness, including the happiness of upper realms. Actualize all the actions, sublime and the common realizations. And please make the glory of the 5 wisdom abide in my heart. So, and then the short mantra is Om Vasa Sattva Om. That's the short mantra. So when do we do these purifications? To the purifications to become effective, powerful, strong, there are a few certain factors. Most important factors is what we call 4 opening power. Okay, in your practice, you need to have those 4 opening powers, 4 conditions. The opening power of reliance or the refuge or the object, the opening power of regret, the opening power of resolutions, and the opening power of antidotes. So the first one, the opening power of the object of reliance is that we try to, from our deep of heart, from that we go refuge to the Buddha Sangha, and we try to generate compassion, bodhicitta mind towards all sentient beings. Refuge in bodhicitta. And then the second, the power of, regret is then, we think, contemplate whatever negative karma we might have created, knowingly or unknowingly in this life. Some of them we can recollect, some of them we might not be able to recollect. We have forgot it, but through body, speech, and mind, whatever negative karma we might have created, we try to remember, recollect them. And all the negative karma that we have created from the beginningless lifetime, which you cannot recollect at the moment, but it's sure that we have created all kind of negative karma, either through body, speech, and mind, out of either attachment or either out of anger, or either out of ignorance, or through all of them, So through that, we must create all negative karma. So we try to remember, recollect them, and try to we acknowledge and regret, that by understanding such negative karma, such actions were not something wholesome, not something positive, not something beneficial. Such actions have harmed others, hurt others, harm ourselves, hurt ourselves. Such actions create more pain, suffering to either ourselves or others or both. It gives rise to obstacles and all the adversity situation, experience, and so forth. So with that kind of understanding, then we try to generate a strong remorse or regret for such unhealthy, unskillful, unwholesome or the karma. Then third one, the open-end power of resolutions. And then, with that understanding that such actions, such negative actions are not wholesome, skillful, beneficial, then you make a strong resolution not to engage into that again in the futures. And there are two different approaches to that. According to some of the teachers, when we do the practice, we make strong determinations that I will never do it from now. Even though we know because we are not enlightened, still we could engage, but at least when you do that practice, you need to have that strong resolutions. That is one act. According to some other teachers, they will say, those who are easy to refrain, we say, I will never do those. And those who are more difficult to refrain, we will say, I will not do for at least 24 hours, at least for a certain period of time. Those who are easy to do, we will never do it. Those who are difficult, we can do that. So there's two approaches. But I remember once His Holiness Dalai Lama sharing, and he said, I think if I remember correctly, one of his teachers, Rinpoche, told him that it's better to have a determination. I will never do it. At least in that moment when you do purifications, and to make that strong determinations or resolutions in that moment. So that is, and then the power of the antidotes. Here, the power of antidote is visualizing the Vajrasattva, and through the visualization, sudden visualization, then reciting the mantras. And that is the antidote here for the negative karma. Of course, there are many other antidotes, many other virtues antidote that, but here the antidote is reciting the mantra with the visualizations, mainly reciting the mantras. So so those are, if all four are there together in purification, then it becomes more powerful, more effective. Not only all those four are there, but the more sincere and more true of each of those conditions, then more powerful, and so. But, as many, in some teachings and many teachers, masters says, even we cannot do the visualization clear and very clear and all of that, even when our mind is a little bit kind of distracted, even when opening power are not strong, even just reciting the mantras, at least, as I mentioned, at least it will stop from negative karma to multiply. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Even we cannot purify the previous negative karma, if we can stop the negative karma from increasing and multiply, that's wonderful. And so therefore, it doesn't take so much time to recite 21 times or 28 times. Short one 28, long one 21, whichever you feel. And so we should take advantage of that, full advantage of that. There's nothing to lose, only to gain. And so when you do the Vajrasattva, like any other daily practice, one important is, trying to hear the Vajrasattva inseparable from the root guru, inseparable from the guru, and also seeing the Vajrasattva is encompassing all the Buddhas within that, all in one, so that one. And then when you do the Vajrasattva mantras, when you do the visualizations at the heart of the Vajrasattva, on the moon disk, there's a hum syllable, and then surrounding clockwise, whether it's the long mantra, 100 syllable, or the short mantra, whichever you recite. And then when you recite that, then you visualize from that garlands of mantra and the hum syllable, then, the purifying energies, that non-dualistic wisdom, Dhammakaya, non-dualistic Dhammakaya wisdom, manifesting in the form of white light and nectar and cleansing and purifying, all your negative karma, and the root of all those negative karma, all the delusion, all the obscurations, cleansing and purifying completely, like taking showers, and when you take shower, all the dirts are completely being cleansed, purified same way. So you try to do that visualization as much as you can, and then strong belief or convictions that those negative karma has been completely purified, cleansed. That is one very important factor. The more stronger convictions, the more stronger belief you have that it has been purified, the more powerful it is. If we think, oh, I'm just doing visualizations, I'm just kind of doing, my delusion is still, my negative karma is still there, nothing has changed, nothing has been purified, I'm just imagining, I'm just visualizing. If we have that kind of doubt or that kind of feeling, then it becomes less powerful. So when you do that, you need to have this very strong conviction and belief that it's really being purified and cleansed completely, and purified completely. Especially we can deal with if we recollect particular negative karma, stronger negative karma, something we regret more strongly, something we feel that was really bad, we can especially emphasize that negative karma being completely purified and completely, including the imprint, And then yourself become like crystal clear, transparent, without any negative trace of any negative choice. And then you can visualize receiving all the, realizations, um, you know, um, lesson of holy body, speech, and mind, and all the spiritual realizations. So we, and then we can try to also meditate when it's possible on emptiness of the negative karma. That negative karma itself is empty. The self with the created negative karma is also empty. The act of creating itself is empty. So then you try to meditate on emptiness of the negative karma itself, the object of negative karma, the act of creating, and yourself who have created those negative karma, completely, they all are empty of innate existence. So again, also in many sutra teaching, there says, meditating on the emptiness is one of very powerful purifications. So here we try to combine two powerful purifications method while we do the reciting of the mantras and visualization of cleansing, purifying. At the same time, we also try to meditate on emptiness of the three spheres of the negative, the karma itself. And then then you can do the dedications. Okay, so I think that is a little bit without going too much detail, but just leave it on Vasattva purifications. So I don't know whether others, I don't know. I need to go so much. In 9, we have the Amitabha Buddha mantras, and again, there is a concept of pure land, Amitabha pure land, and according to those Amitabha pure land sutras and the teachings, you will create the cause and conditions to be born in Amitabha pure land, then there is no suffering. And not only there's no suffering, the conditions are suitable for the Dharma practice. And so therefore, without experience so much suffering, and while the conditions are better for the practice of Dharma, then, one can achieve enlightenment, progress on the path in achieving enlightenment without so much suffering and pain. And so, reciting the Amitabha mantras and then engage in the moral discipline, having the intention to be born in Amitabha pure land, and dedicating for that, and reciting mantra, having the faith in that, through that, then those are some of the cause to be born in Amitabha pure land. And so then the mantra is Om Amitabha Shri, So again, that Om we already talked before, Ami here, like Amitabha Shri, Ami represent the infinite and endless light that is embodied of the Buddha Amitabha. Infinite and endless light. Deva, Deva represent the 6 desire lamps and Deva lamps. Also, it says they will connect this mantra to your true nature of the mind. And Shri, this syllable represents the compassion, self-respect, and dignity. So the Shri is the syllables that represent that.
Alexia on Zoom had a question. Should the short mantra be done exactly 38 times, or is 108 okay as well?
Like 28 is kind of the minimum that you do, short one, but you can do as many as possible. As many as possible. In some of the teachings, in the Buddha's own teaching and others, where it says, if you recite 21 times the 100 syllable each day, within 24 hours, then those negative karma will not multiply. And then it also says, if you are doing the short one, then it says 28. Okay, so 28 is kind of, but other than that, you can do half mala, you can do 1 mala, you can do 3 mala, 4 mala, as much as you can. But at least try to do the 28, the short one, if you are doing that every day. Either you do in evening or morning. Lot of time, that of course you can do anytime, but in generally the advice is, in the morning, you do 35 Buddha practice, purifications. In the evening, before you go to bed, then you do Vasasattva purification practice. You reflect and contemplate throughout the day, whether we have created negative karma today, through body, speech, and mind. And then we try to collect and then try to purify that immediately. At least, all the negative karma we have created from morning, we try to purify that by evening. And whatever negative karma that we have created in the night, supposedly in the morning when you do the 35 Buddha practice, you purify. And then during the day, whatever negative karma you create, and then again, the next evening, you do. So that is, but even so, but you can do anytime, anytime. You can do morning, evening, whatever works better for you, yeah. So we're talking about Amitabha, Pure Land. And Amitabha Pure Land practice has been quite strong in certain countries, I was very surprised when I went to Japan, I thought that Zen was most popular Buddhist practice there because of the influence of that in West and other places, that it has. But actually, I found out when I was there, they said among the Buddhist practitioners, the populations, there's more Amitabha Pure Land practitioner than the actually Zen practitioner. So like within the Buddhist practitioner, of course, I think there are a lot of others who call them Buddhist, but who doesn't really practice. That happens in every country, every culture. There are people who call Christian, but they don't go to church. They identify as a Christian. They don't study about Christianity. They don't go to church, but they will say they are Christian. And same with Hindu, same with the Buddhism, everything. Where you are born in it. And so I think there is a lot that in all so also in Korea, Japan, China, all different Buddhist countries, I think there are a lot of them identify themselves as Buddhists, but maybe they hardly practice anything. They don't study, they don't practice. Then within those who practice, then who practice more seriously, then as I said in Japan, the population of Buddhists practicing Pure Land is more than the Zen. And I think the Pure Land, Pure Land, especially Amitabha Pure Land, I think it's also very strong, popular in Chinese, China, Taiwan, in Chinese. In Tibetan Buddhism, maybe there is that concept, and people do recite the mantra, do practice a little bit, but maybe it's not that you just focus on just that one. Do you get it? It's just one of among many practice, one of them. It's not that the main focus of their practice. In some others, that is all their practice. It's just Amitabha Pure Land. They read the sutras, Amitabha Pure Land sutras. They pray to Amitabha. They recite the mantras. So all their practice is related with that. But in Tibetan Buddhism, definitely many of them do practice, but it's not the main focus. It's one of right. So just to kind of give a little bit of that, and I think for some people, I think it suits their mind very well. For some people, maybe it doesn't suit their mind so much. And that is, again, I always say, the beauty of Dharma is there is so much that there's something for everyone. There's something for everyone. It doesn't, one person doesn't have to connect with everything there, or doesn't have to connect, or doesn't have to suit everything, but there is something that connect and suit their minds, and something they can relate, and something they can practice. So the next one is Amitayus Buddhas, and Amitayus is one of the long life. They are normally you find three long life Buddhas: Vaitara, Amitayus, and Namgyalma. Three. Yeah, Amitabha Buddhas in terms of how I think we have. I think I saw somewhere there with a pink or red color. It's same like Buddha Shakyamuni, but in the color is kind of pink or red. And then the posture is both in meditative posture and holding the bowl. That is Amitabha. So Amitayus is very similar like Amitabha, but holding the long life vase instead of bowl. Baking bowl is holding a long life vase. And then Amitabha is in the form of what we call Nirmanakaya, Buddhas. And then Amitabha is Sambhogakaya form. And in Sambhogakaya form, then they have ornaments, and the celestial garments. In Nirmanakaya is the monk's robe in the monk's form without ornaments. The Buddha Shakyamuni, Amitabha, you don't see them, all the crown and all the different. So when there is a Buddha that has all different ornament and crown ornaments and kind of celestial silk garments, it is in the form Sambhogakaya form. And when they are more simple, in a, like monk's robe and in that form of the Lord in Nirvana. So sometimes it is also for Amitabha and Amitayus, same Buddha in a different. One is in symbol kind of form, and one is in Nirvana kind of form in some teachings. But anyway, but Amitabha is the longevity, as I said, a lot of time you see three together, so three long life Buddhas together, in a paintings, canvas, Amitabha's, Vaitara, and Namgyalma. So, Avaran Jivandai so, yeah, so again, so Amarali is immortality, never dying, immortalities, and Jivantai, one who possesses the life, so again, because the Buddha is the longevity Buddha, so then, the one who never dies, the Buddha who never dies, the Buddha who possesses immorality. Not immorality, what do you call it? Immortality. Immortality. I would be in trouble for saying, this is immoral, having an immorality. After that class, I might get a call from him. I heard you said that I was not immoral, immortality. Maybe he might take me to court. For detaining him. So again, whether it's White Tara, whether it's Amitayus, they represent longevities and for good health, good health, to have longevity and to good health, so we rely on those deities and we recite those mantras and we do the practice. And there are many teachers, lamas, practitioners who have said, their health improved and had a better health and longevity after they start doing those practice, like I had one, not my own personal teachers, but he was disciplinary in Kopan, one of the geshes, who came from Sera as a disciplinary, and then he also taught the young ones. And then, so I know him from that, and then I went to Sera, and then after I think 10 years in Kopan, then he went to Taiwan to teach. And I think few years he got sick. He thought he was dying. And he didn't want to die he said he didn't want to die in Taiwan. He wanted to die in the monastery. So he said, I want to go back to the monastery. And in Taiwan, they told him he has heart problem, I don't remember exactly whether his vein was blocked and they need to do operations, something like that. And he wasn't really bad. He thought he was going to die for sure, and so he didn't want to die there. So so anyway, he came to back to Sera, his name is Kisho, and so then, he asked me to help to go to the hospitals. So, I took him to the hospital, Bangalore, which is like 6-7 hours drive in a bus or car, and there is one good hospital for heart, Manipur. And so we went to see the doctors, and then they checked and everything. And then they said they found two things. That one of his veins, valve is cracked up. They need to clear that it is blocked, and then also he had a hole in his heart. So there was two problems with his heart. And Gisha at that time, he made sense because he, long time ago in India, and I don't know which hospital, he checked and they said there was hole. I think by birth or something. And then in Taiwan, they say blocked, so he has conflict, because they diagnose different. One says there is hole and one says blockage, and that is why he was having problems. But he actually had both, and in both they said they didn't see the both. One place they're able to see one problem, and there they only saw one. In here, then when we went to the hospital, they saw both of them. And so we discussed, what should be done and what is this. And so they recommended surgery, and they thought with his age, maybe bypass surgery might not be the best, even though that will be more cheaper. And then they said there's angel that through that they can do that, but it will be more costly. So we asked how much, and they said, they give estimations, and of course he doesn't have money, so he have to find out the money, he have to raise the money. And so it took months, year before he was able to raise money through his others, friends, different other people's. And even with that, we couldn't raise all the money, and then we went back again, nothing, maybe after a long time. And then doctor says, why don't you come before, you should have that surgery quickly. So anyway, and we explained because about not being able to raise the money. And then the doctor was very kind compassion, very kind compassion. He asked how much, and by that time he has raised not a full money, but some. And then we told him how much he had been able to raise, and then doctor says, he will not charge any penny for his own service. And then he called the vice president of the hospital and told him the situations. The vice president offered 50,000 Indian rupees for support. And then the doctor says, and so with that 50,000, and then we had maybe 120,000 or 30,000, something like that. And then he said, any more expenses that they might occur, he will talk to the hospital. So he was extremely kind, compassionate, and he was very lucky to have met such good doctors. So anyway, so that is what it was. And then they did the surgery. First surgery wasn't successful. They have to redo it. So the first surgery was not successful. And then we have to wait again in the hospital for a long time before they do the second surgery. And the second surgery was successful. Overall, we spent in the hospital more than 20 days. First surgery, trying to recover from that. Second surgeries, and then recovering from that before they can discharge you, feel safe. So anyway, and at that time, so anyway, and he lived more than 20 years after his surgery. Many of his friends, his friends who had no problem, died much earlier than him. He was almost like the last one among their batches. And, he told me, I think he also shared with others. He said when he was sick, then he kind of request for long life initiations. I think he requested Lama Subramanian, and he gave him the long life initiation of White Dharma. And then he says every day he does this practice, the sadhana every day. And for him, he believed that was one of the reasons. Of course, there could be many factors, but one of the factors is that his strong belief and strong practice of that, the practice that long doing that, he has good health after that. He didn't have problem. He went to revisit a few times, but he didn't really relapse and he had a long life. He was one of the last among his batches, among his classmates, even with such heart conditions, so yeah, that just kind of, when we're talking about that, something kind of came in my mind. So therefore, as I mentioned, and I've also met other lamas and teachers who believe that that they were able to have more longevity and healthy life, good health, is because of the practice they do in relation to some of those longevity deities. And then next one is here we have, I don't want to go each of them, the details because we don't have time. Next one is Guru Rinpoche's mantras, and Guru Rinpoche's is known for, again, very powerful, so when we have some obstacles, especially when we have, if we feel there is some kind of spirit harm, or harm from natural disasters and like that, then again, having strong belief in Guru Rinpoche and reciting that Guru Rinpoche mantra can be very helpful and beneficial. Even throughout the history, when Buddhism first came to Tibet, Shandi Rakshita, the first great Nalanda masters and scholar handed, when he tried to establish first monasteries, learning monastery institutions, Samye monastery, there was so much obstacles from human and unseen beings. And it is said, they build during daytime, in the night, it's whatever they have built, it is gone. During daytime, they built, in the night, it's collapsed and destroyed, whatever. So they couldn't build anymore. And then he suggested to the king to invite Guru Rinpoche, because Guru Rinpoche has such power to subdue such negative energy. And so Guru Rinpoche came, and then he was able to subdue whatever negative energy that was creating for the success of building and flourishing of the Dharma. And so, therefore, yeah. And then, we have, maybe. So in Omaha, in that one, Omaha, Benza city home, Omaha, so it symbolized practitioner attending Tirikayas, three bodies of the Buddha of Omaha, like Om. Yeah. Okay. And then Vajra, as practitioner realized the mirror like pristine awareness. Guru, practitioner realized the pristine awareness of equalness. Pema, the practitioner realized the pristine awareness of discernment. Siddhi, the practitioner realized the all-encompassing pristine awareness. And Home, the practitioner realized the pristine awareness basis space. So it is related with the 5 different wisdom or awareness. Okay. Then there is Yellow Zambala. And Zambala mantra is to improve the wealth and to overcome poverty, and of course, again, the main thing, whether we are doing, the reason to have healthy life longevity is to practice the Dharma to be benefit to others. You have good health, longevity, you have better conditions to practice Dharma for a longer time, and also to more benefit and help to others. Same thing, if you have a good wealth, then you can support, you have also condition to practice yourself because you don't struggle to just for the basic living. There's struggles because when you have that struggles, then it all becomes how to survive. Like if you go to any countries, a lot of time, poor people, they don't have time to study and practice. It's all about how to survive. Always concerned, always wary. Only when you have a little bit more better condition, when you don't have to constantly wary and think survival, then you can think other things, studying, practicing, So therefore it becomes more difficult to, and also if we have more wealth, also we can more help, benefit, support others, and so therefore that's, and of course there are like, in Zambala, there are many 5 Zambalas. Among that, Yellow Zambalas is one of the more common and more popular one. So on that, on Zambala Zalanda is so again, Zambala invoked the name of Yellow Zambala, which means the precious golden deity, and Zalanda means free me from which binds me. And so this could represent the manifestation of emotional, physical, or mental hindrance that are hindering pathway towards the financial abundance or the wealth. And so allow the meaning of this mantra to take root in my mind. So when we talk about wealth, it can be physical wealth, it can be internal wealth. Okay, so when we talk about wealth, it's not just the physical, also internal wealth as well. And then Hayagriva, Sri Benzapoda Hayagriva Hululu Humpe. And Hayagriva is very powerful. It is a manifestation of Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, in a wrathful aspect. Like Manjushri is the peaceful aspect. When it is manifest in a wrathful aspect, it becomes Yamadaka. Also, Avalokiteshvara Cherisik is peaceful aspect. When it manifests in wrathful manifestation, then one of those wrathful manifestation is the Hayagriva. And a high river is very powerful to, to overcome, kind of pollutions, harm of the pollutions, harm of spirits, especially like Naga is such spirit, the spirit that kind of do in more kind of water and nature and like that, that can harm and do sometimes. And they harm us because we destroy them. We harm and destroy them, maybe we pollute the waters that they live in, we pollute the land they live in. And so just like another human being, so then they hurt and harm you, and so like that. And higher Griva is also the main deity of the Celestial Monastery as well. So I think that is all for today. So we just kind of just run through it. But I think I went through mostly the main one up to the number 8. That was something that we do more common in our everyday life. We recite mostly. And so, but some others just introducing, which is not so common, in general, that we do every day or a lot most times. So any questions? Any questions from today? Yes, please.
You skipped over White Tara.
Wait, we know why Tara because I didn't have it here. In the here, where is the white Tara?
6.
Oh, sorry. So as I mentioned before, it's a long longevity deities, and again, like green Tara but white, and then 7 eyes. A lot of time it's 7 eyes. I don't know, like there's 7 eyes. There's eyes, 2 eyes, 3 wisdom eyes, 1 eyes in each of the hand, 1 eyes in each of the feet. There's 7 eyes. And it symbolizes that is always looking sentient beings, like more eyes, taking care of. It symbolizes always caring, always looking, always so it symbolizes having many eyes, And in terms of the mantra, Om Tare Tutare Mama Ayu Punijana Purimkuriya Soba, that is the mantra. So Om Tare Tutare Turi, we already mentioned the meaning of that when we talk about Gintara. So then next one, we say Mama, Mama Ayu Punijana. Sometimes they read Pushtim, like in Tibet, in Sanskrit, in Tibetan, sometimes they pronounce Putin. So Tibetan pronounce a little different than the Sanskrit. Instead of Vajra, we say Benza. Like Benza Sadhusamaya instead of Vajra Sadhusamaya. So therefore, there's a little bit of difference, but no. So Mama means, it says it presents that I would like to possess, certain qualities or certain, I would like to achieve, or I would like to possess, I would like to actualize certain qualities that's mentioned later, Ayu is the long life, so that is something you want to have long life. Ayu, punya or puni is the marriage. Also that is something you want to actualize or possess or want to have. Jnana is the wisdom. Jnana is the wisdom. And wisdom is abundance or abundance, many lots. So it is a lot of increase, lot of longevity, good and longevity, lot of merit, lot of wisdom. So wisdom is lot increase in that. And Guru here it says, do so, do it now. So it's making the request to the white data to help us to increase longevity, to increase merit, to increase wisdom. And then also Om Tade Tuda to this for Om Tade Tuda also the path that free from the samsara, from the suffering, the path that free from the all the illness, disease, the path that free from the 8 fears or the 8 delusions, or the fear of the delusions, and so forth. So that is yeah.
Thank you, Vishnu.
Yeah. Okay. I think maybe that is all for today. Yeah. Now, for some reason why I jumped there.
Very interesting. Women.
So any questions? I guess because maybe I covered the green card and maybe I got confused with that. I don't know. Okay.
First,
Yeah. If there's no question, then we can do that, right?
we'll dedicate the merit created by listening to this teaching. Starting with the general dedication prayer,
Okay, general dedication prayer.
1 time in English. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I
and they all living beings without exception into that everlasting. May the supreme joy of Bodhicitta that has not arrested by license and that has not diminished but increased more and more.
And we'll do the long life prayers for our teacher, starting with His Holiness Dalai Lama, 1 time in English. The wish granting, the wish fulfilling,
happiness in this world. Today, come with contents in God. We say, may all your holy has been spontaneously fulfilled.
And for Osohita, Lama Yeshu's reincarnation, Venerable
One to you, whose kindness exists that of all conquerors, alone wonder and power places, especially the West. Mindful and loving content for us, intentionally descending again into the family of far distant land. We make this request, O Lord, please wait long.
And the prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. This one was written by His Holiness. Fearless
Teachers, the assembly of the children of the people is one, Savvakas and Buddhas. The oldest follows on Father and Son, together in your image. For the object of refuge of infinite life. Please now bestow the virtues and goodness in accomplishing prayer. In holy and spreading harmonies, precious and complete teachings, through explanation and practice, you will the emerald impression that is never discouraged, incomparable to you are made request. So gateway to communicate and happiness in life. While studying exclusively for the welfare of the tourist one teaching and for other living beings. You suddenly identified in the peace that all these
Nevertheless, through the unceasing truth of the blessed
blessings of the oceans of Tiritu and the great weight of my generations of children of the tourist ones. May the smart of reincarnation should be. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you so much. Jana, there's a couple prayer requests in the Zoom chat box. Bill is asking if you could please add Patty to prayers to overcome illness. Thank you. And Alexia, could we please add Brandy to prayers to overcome illness, please? Thank you.
Steve?
Brian